Imagine an endless sea of green stretching beyond the horizon, layer upon layer of trees rising like a living wall against the sky. The Amazon rainforest, vast, unbroken, and ancient, has concealed its secrets for thousands of years. Beneath the canopy lies a world rarely touched by human eyes, a landscape so dense and impenetrable that generations of explorers believed it could never support more than scattered villages or isolated tribes. For centuries, this idea shaped our understanding of the jungle. Too harsh, too unforgiving, too wild for large civilizations to exist. But recent discoveries have shattered that belief. In Ecuador's Upano Valley, a team of researchers uncovered evidence that changes everything we thought we knew about the ancient Amazon. Using cutting-edge laser technology, they revealed more than random ruins or small settlements. Beneath the thick vegetation lay the remains of an enormous lost city, carefully planned and meticulously built. Roads stretching for miles. Ceremonial. Plazas carved into the earth. Neighborhoods laid out in deliberate patterns. Evidence of organization and scale rivaling some of the world's greatest ancient urban centers. The revelation stunned archaeologists. A civilization had once thrived here, hidden beneath centuries of growth. It forces us to confront difficult questions. Who were these people capable of building such an advanced metropolis in one of the most challenging environments on Earth? How did they create vast infrastructure in a place long considered inhospitable to complex societies? And perhaps most haunting of all, how could a city so large, so sophisticated, vanish so completely that its memory was erased from history? The Amazon, once thought of as an untamable wilderness, now emerges as the stage for one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the century. It is a story that challenges old assumptions and reshapes our view of human civilization. What lies beneath the jungle is not simply ruins, but a reminder that even the most enduring landscapes can hide chapters of history we never imagined. This is the beginning of a journey into the unknown, deep into the heart of the rainforest, where science and history converge to reveal a lost world. A city forgotten by time, rediscovered by technology, and destined to rewrite the story of humanity. The Amazon rainforest covers more than 2 million square miles across South America, a vast and tangled expanse of rivers, towering trees, and endless vegetation. For centuries, it was viewed as a place of isolation. Early European explorers described it as a green ocean that resisted civilization, a hostile environment where soil was too poor and the climate too unstable to support large-scale societies. This belief shaped academic thinking for generations. Anthropologists and archaeologists long argued that the Amazon's unforgiving conditions made permanent, complex settlements impossible. Yet the Amazon's immensity concealed truths no one suspected. The dense canopy, stretching unbroken for hundreds of miles, created a natural shield against observation. From above, the jungle appeared uniform, disguising any trace of what might lie beneath. On the ground, exploration was slow, exhausting, and dangerous. Visibility extended only a few feet through thickets of vines and towering trunks. Insects swarmed, humidity soaked equipment, and the forest quickly reclaimed any human disturbance. For decades, the very scale and density of the rainforest served as the perfect camouflage for whatever secrets remained hidden within it. Archaeologists who ventured into Ecuador's Upano Valley expected, at most, to find scattered evidence of small indigenous groups, simple farming plots, hunting tools, and temporary shelters. The valley lies in the eastern foothills of the Andes, where the mountains begin to give way to the lowland Amazon. It is an area marked by volcanic soils, winding rivers, and steep forested slopes. To researchers in the late 20th century, the valley seemed like countless other stretches of the Amazon, remote, wild, and untouched. Traditional survey methods offered little progress. Satellite imaging could not penetrate the dense tree cover. Aerial photography revealed only an endless carpet of green. On the ground, field surveys were slow and ineffective. Teams could map only tiny areas before being forced to retreat from exhaustion, weather, or disease. Months of work often produced little more than fragments of pottery or signs of temporary camps. The assumption that the Amazon was incapable of sustaining urban life seemed to be confirmed again and again. Still, some anomalies emerged. Occasional clusters of earth mounds, scattered shards of decorated ceramics, and faint traces of ancient ditches hinted that something larger might be hidden beneath the forest. These clues were intriguing, but inconclusive. Without the ability to see beyond the canopy, no one could connect the fragments into a larger picture. Archaeologists debated whether these features represented isolated tribal activity or the remnants of something more complex. By the early 2000s, frustration grew among researchers working in the region. They suspected the Amazon's prehistory was richer than established narratives allowed, but the tools to prove it were missing. Excavations were painstaking, limited to small clearings or riverbanks. Dense vegetation forced researchers to cut, every step with machetes, advancing slowly, only to lose perspective of the broader landscape. The jungle itself seemed determined to keep its history concealed. It was in this context of uncertainty that the Upano Valley became a turning point. Archaeologists knew the area had potential. Volcanic soils were unusually fertile compared to much of the Amazon, suggesting it could have supported agriculture. Ceramic fragments unearthed by earlier surveys hinted at cultural activity more sophisticated than expected. But without a method to penetrate the forest cover, the valley remained a mystery. The stage was set for a breakthrough. A technology capable of peeling back the canopy without cutting a single tree would soon transform everything. What generations of explorers and archaeologists failed to uncover on foot, science was about to reveal from the skies. The belief that the Amazon was too harsh for civilization was about to collapse under the weight of new evidence. For decades, the Amazon's impenetrable canopy shielded the ground from view. Explorers, archaeologists, and satellites alike were blinded by the sheer density of vegetation. Then, a technological breakthrough changed the way the world could look at landscapes long thought impossible to study. The tool was LiDAR, short for light detection and ranging. Mounted to aircraft, LiDAR devices send out hundreds of thousands of laser pulses every second. Most bounce off the leaves and branches of the forest, but a small fraction reach the ground. When those beams return to the sensor, they create a three-dimensional map of the surface below. Unlike photography or satellite imagery, LiDAR can see through the canopy, stripping away the trees to reveal what lies hidden beneath. When archaeologists turned LiDAR toward Ecuador's Upano Valley, they expected modest results, perhaps a few earthworks or the faint outlines of small agricultural plots. What appeared on the first scans was far beyond those expectations. Geometric patterns began to emerge. Straight lines cut through terrain where no natural features existed. Rectangular shapes formed beneath the jungle, precise in angle and orientation. Clusters of circular depressions repeated at intervals too regular to be random. To the trained eye, these were not natural formations. They were evidence of human construction on a vast scale. As the data rendered into full digital maps, the outlines of an entire city appeared. Archaeologists traced wide roads stretching for kilometers, connecting neighborhoods, ceremonial plazas, and enormous platforms. Some of the roads measured more than 30 meters across, aligned in deliberate patterns. Massive earth mounds, some exceeding 100 meters in width, dominated the layout. Around them, the scans revealed organized residential zones, arranged in clear patterns that suggested careful planning. The astonishment was immediate. What had seemed like unbroken wilderness was, in fact, a metropolis. The scale rivaled known centers of the ancient world, comparable in size to parts of ancient Rome. Far from being scattered villages, the settlement extended for over 20 square miles. It was not a chance discovery of isolated ruins, but a revelation of urban complexity hidden in plain sight for centuries. The implications were profound. Archaeologists had long believed that the Amazon's poor soils and extreme climate could not sustain large, organized populations. Yet the evidence now contradicted that assumption. A civilization had not only lived here, but engineered a city of extraordinary sophistication. The Upano Valley, once dismissed as peripheral, was now recognized as a center of monumental achievement. Researchers compared the LiDAR scans to earlier ground surveys and were stunned by the connections. The fragments of pottery, earth mounds, and ditches that once seemed isolated were now part of an integrated system. The ceramics belonged to organized neighborhoods. The ditches were components of a wider network of water management. The scattered earthworks were ceremonial centers designed for gatherings, rituals, and leadership. This was no wilderness dotted with survivalist groups. It was a planned urban landscape, carefully engineered to withstand the challenges of the rainforest. For the first time, the Amazon was revealed not as an untamed frontier, but as a cradle of advanced civilization. The images left little room for doubt. Roads, plazas, neighborhoods, ceremonial platforms, all of them hidden beneath centuries of vegetation. A metropolis erased from memory, concealed by nature, and rediscovered only through the eye of technology. The Upano Valley's lost city was no longer speculation. It was undeniable fact. And with it came a haunting realization. If such a city could remain hidden for so long, how many others still lie buried beneath the endless green? The scale of what LiDAR revealed in the Upano Valley was staggering. Archaeologists quickly realized they were not looking at a cluster of scattered villages, but at a metropolis whose size and planning rivaled some of the greatest cities of the ancient world. The network stretched across more than 20 square miles, a scale comparable to Rome during the height of its republic. The realization was immediate and profound. The Amazon, long dismissed as too harsh for civilization, had once supported a city of extraordinary magnitude. Within the digital maps, distinct neighborhoods appeared. Residential areas were carefully arranged, clustered around central plazas and connected by wide roads. These were not random collections of dwellings, but structured communities. Homes were grouped in geometric layouts, rectangular or circular. In form, suggesting organized planning rather than organic sprawl. Archaeologists noted the deliberate spacing between these neighborhoods, with clear boundaries that may have defined family groups, clans, or social classes. At the heart of the city stood ceremonial plazas, massive open spaces designed for gathering. Some were bordered by monumental earth mounds, platforms that may have hosted rituals, speeches, or communal activities. Their size indicated importance. These were not casual meeting spots, but central stages for collective life. The mounds themselves, built with layers of compacted soil and sometimes reinforced with stone, demonstrated engineering skill and labor organization on a scale that few believed possible in the Amazon. The road systems added to the astonishment. Straight, wide, and interconnected, they ran for kilometers, linking neighborhoods to ceremonial centers and extending outward into the surrounding region. Their precision and durability recalled the famed roads of Rome, not in material, but in purpose. They were arteries of movement, binding the city together and enabling trade, communication, and governance across a complex society. The evidence suggested a city that pulsed with life. Markets likely filled plazas with the exchange of crops, pottery, and tools. The fertile volcanic soils supported agriculture, while irrigation channels and terraces provided stability against flooding and erosion. Artifacts uncovered during excavation, fragments of decorated pottery, stone tools, and ceremonial objects hinted at specialized roles within the community: farmers, artisans, leaders, and religious figures all contributing to the city's rhythm. The ceremonial mounds and plazas spoke to more than daily necessity. They suggested ritual life woven into the fabric of society. Public ceremonies, communal gatherings, and shared traditions would have reinforced unity. The scale of these spaces indicated participation not by a few, but by thousands. The city was designed not only for survival, but for cultural expression, identity, and continuity. What LiDAR revealed was a civilization of complexity and permanence. The Amazon, long thought incapable of sustaining urban life, had once been home to a thriving city, carefully planned and meticulously maintained. This was not a fleeting settlement swallowed by the jungle after a generation. It was a metropolis built to endure, an achievement of human resilience and ingenuity in one of the world's most challenging environments. The discovery forced a re-evaluation of everything once believed about the region. No longer could scholars dismiss the Amazon as a land of scattered, transient groups. Here was proof that advanced societies had taken root, organized themselves, and built monumental urban landscapes in the heart of the rainforest. The jungle had hidden the evidence, but technology made it impossible to ignore. This city pulsed with life, and its rediscovery has given voice to a civilization erased for centuries. It was an urban world that defied expectations, one that challenges our assumptions of what was possible in the ancient Amazon. With the scale of the city revealed, attention turned to its builders. Archaeologists needed to understand who had engineered such an immense and sophisticated metropolis in the heart of Ecuador's Upano Valley. The answer lay not in written records, none existed, but in the fragments left behind: pottery, stone tools, and carved artifacts that spoke of a culture long forgotten. The Upano culture, known previously only through scattered finds, began to take shape under the scrutiny of excavation. Their pottery became the most telling signature. Shards unearthed from residential zones bore intricate geometric patterns, carefully painted or incised. These designs were consistent across wide areas, suggesting a shared identity and cultural cohesion. The craftsmanship indicated more than simple utility. Some ceramics were highly decorated ceremonial vessels, far beyond what was needed for daily life. Others were large storage jars, evidence of organized food distribution and surplus management. The variety pointed to specialized artisans, individuals devoted to the production of pottery rather than subsistence farming. Stone tools added further depth to this portrait. Excavations revealed polished axes, chisels, and finely crafted projectile points. Their precision reflected not only technical skill, but also an understanding of the materials available in the region. Some tools bore marks of repeated sharpening, proof of long-term use in agriculture, construction, and possibly even warfare. The presence of distinct tool types suggested division of labor within the community. Farmers, builders, and craft specialists each relied on different instruments tailored to their tasks. Carved figurines and ceremonial objects uncovered in plazas and mounds highlighted the symbolic world of the Upano. Small statues, often depicting human and animal forms, pointed to spiritual practices embedded within daily life. These were not decorative trinkets. Their placement in ceremonial centers suggested roles and rituals that reinforced social unity. Engraved amulets hinted at personal or communal belief systems, tokens carried for protection or identity, without written language. Reconstructing the political structure of the Upano required careful inference. The city's organization, however, provided critical clues. The scale of earthworks, the alignment of roads, and the coordination of ceremonial centers could not have been achieved by loosely connected households. The evidence pointed to leadership capable of mobilizing thousands of people. Whether this authority took the form of centralized rulers, councils, or collective governance remains uncertain, but the results demonstrate extraordinary social organization. The artifacts also revealed the Upano's integration with their environment. The ceramics showed residues of maize, beans, and cassava, proof of a diverse agricultural base. Stone tools bore microscopic wear patterns consistent with clearing land and shaping wooden structures, essential for building raised platforms and houses. The precision of these tools, combined with the evidence of large-scale agriculture, confirmed a society capable of sustaining dense populations. Symbolism extended beyond artifacts to the very design of the city. Neighborhood clusters, plazas, and ceremonial mounds all reflected intentional planning. This was not a settlement that grew organically from necessity, but one carefully engineered with social, spiritual, and political purpose. The uniformity of artifact styles across the valley further implied communication and shared traditions between communities, reinforcing the idea of a cohesive cultural identity. The Upano, once considered a minor indigenous culture, emerged through this evidence as the architects of one of South America's great lost cities. They possessed specialized skills, distinct social roles, and a vision that transformed the rainforest into a planned urban landscape. Without texts or chronicles, their story is told through clay, stone, and earthworks, fragments that together reveal a society of resilience, adaptability, and ambition. In silence, the jungle had preserved their legacy. Now, archaeology was bringing their identity back into view, piece by piece, as the true builders of the Amazon's forgotten metropolis. The discovery of the Upano Valley City revealed not only scale but also ingenuity. To survive in the Amazon required more than strength. It required engineering capable of mastering one of the harshest environments on Earth. The builders of this metropolis achieved exactly that. Terraced hillsides were among the first features identified. Archaeologists mapped vast stepped platforms, cut into slopes that otherwise would have been vulnerable to erosion and flooding. These terraces slowed the flow of water, stabilized the soil, and created usable farmland where none should have existed. Similar methods were employed in the Andes, but finding them deep in the Amazon was unexpected. It proved that the Upano civilization understood how to manipulate the landscape to sustain large populations. Drainage systems reinforced this picture. Channels and ditches surrounded neighborhoods and ceremonial centers, diverting torrents of rain away from homes and public spaces. In a region where rainfall can exceed 200 inches a year, unmanaged water would have destroyed buildings and crops. Instead, the Upano engineered solutions that kept their city functional. These systems were not temporary improvisations. The uniformity of their construction showed planning at a citywide scale, evidence of leadership and labor coordination. The earth platforms that supported neighborhoods and ceremonial mounds reflected the same understanding. Layers of compacted soil created raised surfaces resistant to flooding. Some were reinforced with stone foundations, providing stability in a region known for shifting terrain. These platforms lifted entire communities above the dangers of waterlogged ground, preserving living spaces while shaping the city into a planned urban landscape. Agriculture sustained it all, and here the Upano achieved their most remarkable innovation, terra preta, or black earth. Across the valley, soils enriched with charcoal, bone fragments, and organic matter transformed poor rainforest dirt into fertile land. Chemical analysis showed nutrient levels far higher than natural soils. These were not accidents of geology, but intentional creations. By producing terra preta, the Upano built fields that could sustain harvests for generations. This method allowed continuous farming, supporting dense populations in a region long believed inhospitable to agriculture. The sophistication of these systems forced comparisons with civilizations far beyond the Amazon. The precision of the road network echoed the engineering of Rome. The terraced hillsides recalled methods developed by the Maya and Inca. Yet the Upano adapted these strategies to their own environment, combining earthworks, drainage, and soil engineering into a system uniquely suited to the rainforest. Their achievement was not imitation, but independent innovation, proof that advanced engineering emerged across the globe under different conditions. Each discovery undermined the old assumption that the Amazon could not support large, organized societies. Instead, the evidence showed a civilization that not only endured but flourished through environmental mastery. Terraces reshaped the hills, drainage controlled the floods, platforms resisted erosion, black earth fields produced abundant crops. Together, these systems sustained tens of thousands of people, organized into neighborhoods, plazas, and ceremonial centers. The Upano transformed one of Earth's most challenging landscapes into an urban stronghold. Their engineering demonstrates the same level of ambition and resilience that defined history's most celebrated civilizations. What set them apart was their ability to turn the very challenges of the rainforest into the foundation of survival. Far from fragile, they were resourceful, deliberate, and enduring, builders of the impossible. The rediscovery of the Upano Valley city revealed more than engineering and urban planning. At its core lay a spiritual framework that held the society together. The evidence was preserved not in texts or chronicles, but in the ceremonial plazas, sacred mounds, and artifacts left behind. Ceremonial plazas dominated the city's layout. These open spaces were deliberately positioned at the heart of neighborhoods and larger complexes. Archaeologists believe they served as gathering points for rituals, communal meetings, and seasonal events. Their scale suggested participation by hundreds, if not thousands, of people at once. Surrounding mounds, some over 100 meters wide, reinforced their importance. Elevated platforms likely functioned as stages for leaders, priests, or community representatives to address the population. The design revealed an understanding of space not only as practical but as symbolic, a physical embodiment of unity and shared identity. Artifacts recovered from these centers deepened the picture. Pottery with intricate geometric patterns was discovered in ceremonial contexts, far beyond household use. Some vessels bore traces of ritual substances, pointing to their role in feasts, offerings, or spiritual ceremonies. Carved stone figurines, often depicting human and animal forms, were found buried in or around the plazas. Their placement implied significance, offerings to ancestors, spirits, or deities recognized by the Upano people. Stone axes, amulets, and pendants also appeared in these spaces, not as tools of labor but as symbols of status or spiritual power. Symbols carved into stone and etched into pottery offered glimpses into belief systems. Repeating motifs, spirals, geometric grids, animal figures appeared across the city. While their exact meanings remain uncertain, the consistency suggests they carried shared cultural or spiritual messages. Some may have represented cosmological ideas, cycles of time, fertility, or connections between the human and natural worlds. Others may have marked clan or lineage identities, reinforcing ties within the community. To the Upano, these symbols were not decoration. They were markers of identity and tools of memory, binding individuals to the collective through shared meaning. Ritual life strengthened community bonds. The plazas provided spaces for large-scale feasts or collective ceremonies, reinforcing cooperation and social cohesion. The act of gathering itself, eating together, honoring shared symbols, participating in rituals, ensured the survival of social order. These events likely reaffirmed leadership as well. Those who organized ceremonies, directed rituals, or controlled sacred objects would have wielded authority not only politically but spiritually. In the Upano world, governance and ritual were inseparable. The integration of spirituality into governance was visible in the city's design. Roads connected residential areas to ceremonial centers, guiding movement toward communal spaces. Sacred mounds, elevated above daily life, reflected both reverence and hierarchy. Authority was grounded not in abstract rule but in visible, physical spaces that tied leadership to spiritual responsibility. In such a system, governance was legitimized through ritual, and ritual reinforced the structures of governance. The artifacts, plazas, and mounds together demonstrate a society where spirituality permeated public and private life. Belief was not confined to temples or shrines. It shaped the layout of the city, directed the rhythms of community life, and legitimized leadership. In the absence of written records, this integration of spiritual and social organization stands as one of the most powerful insights into the Upano civilization. The builders of the jungle were not only engineers of roads and terraces, they were architects of meaning, embedding their beliefs into every plaza, mound, and artifact. The city was more than a settlement. It was a spiritual landscape, designed to unite its people through shared ritual, symbol, and tradition. The Upano Valley's great metropolis did not endure forever. Archaeological evidence makes clear that its end was sudden, dramatic, and devastating. The city that had thrived for centuries, sustained by engineering and bound by ritual, collapsed in what appears to have been a single catastrophic event. The strongest evidence points to a volcanic eruption. Geologists studying the region identified thick layers of volcanic ash covering parts of the Upano Valley, dating to around 1,500 years ago. This timeline aligns closely with the city's disappearance. Such an eruption would have transformed the valley overnight. Ashfall would have poisoned fertile soils, destroyed crops, and contaminated water supplies. Agricultural systems that meet the lifeblood of the city would have failed almost immediately. Excavations revealed haunting details. Tools were found abandoned mid-use, as if dropped in haste. Homes contained unfinished structures, never completed. Ceremonial areas appeared suddenly deserted, with ritual items left behind. These were not the signs of gradual decline, but of abrupt abandonment. The ash layers preserved the silence of a society forced to leave everything behind. The volcanic eruption alone could explain much, but secondary factors may have deepened the crisis. A sudden agricultural collapse would have weakened trade networks that sustained the city's population. Food shortages would have spread quickly, undermining the authority of leaders. Migration, whether forced by famine or the search for safer lands, may have followed. In moments of catastrophe, the cohesion of even the most advanced civilizations can fracture. The Upano city was no exception. Comparisons to other ancient societies reinforce this interpretation. The Maya in Mesoamerica, the city of Teotihuacan, in central Mexico, and even Rome itself suffered from crises where environmental shocks combined with social and political strain to trigger collapse. In the Upano Valley, the eruption acted as the immediate trigger, but the social consequences, disrupted trade, weakened leadership, displaced communities, ensured that recovery never came. The speed of abandonment remains striking. Archaeologists found little evidence of prolonged adaptation. There were no new layers of rebuilt structures or modified systems to cope with a changing environment. Instead, the city seems to have been deserted almost as soon as disaster struck. Nature reclaimed the landscape quickly, with the rainforest covering streets, plazas, and mounds in dense vegetation. For centuries, the silence of the jungle erased memory of the people who once lived there. The collapse of the Upano metropolis stands as a reminder of vulnerability. Advanced engineering, sustainable agriculture, and complex social organization had allowed a city to flourish against the odds of the rainforest. Yet all of it could be undone in a single eruption. The very landscape that nurtured the civilization also harbored the forces that destroyed it. For archaeologists, the evidence is both sobering and powerful. The ash layers, the abandoned tools, the unfinished sites, each detail paints the image of a thriving society brought to an abrupt halt. The city that once pulsed with life fell silent, consumed by forces beyond its control. A silence swallowed the city, and with it, an entire chapter of human history disappeared beneath the jungle. For over a millennium, the memory of its people remained hidden until science finally uncovered what nature had concealed. The rediscovery of the Upano Valley city forces a rethinking of human history. For centuries, the Amazon was dismissed as incapable of sustaining advanced societies. The revelation of a vast, planned metropolis hidden beneath the canopy overturns that assumption. It shows that civilizations once flourished here, with engineering, agriculture, and organization rivaling some of the world's greatest centers. This discovery does not stand alone. It represents only the beginning of what may lie hidden across the Amazon basin. If one city of this scale could remain concealed for more than 1,000 years, it is reasonable to ask how many others wait beneath the jungle. LiDAR surveys in other regions have already revealed traces of earthworks, ancient roads, and possible settlements. Each scan peels back another layer of mystery, suggesting that the Amazon may once have been a mosaic of interconnected urban landscapes, not a wilderness dotted with isolated groups. The implications stretch far beyond archaeology. These findings reshape our understanding of indigenous societies, their resilience, and their ability to adapt to hostile environments. They challenge the narrative of the Amazon as untouched wilderness, and instead highlight it as a center of human innovation. For the descendants of these cultures, the discoveries reaffirm the depth of their ancestral legacy, long underestimated or ignored. Technology will continue to drive this transformation. LiDAR, with its ability to strip away the canopy, is revolutionizing. Archaeology in dense environments, what once took decades of guesswork and excavation, can now be revealed in hours of scanning. As surveys expand, the picture of the ancient Amazon will grow clearer, and with it, our appreciation for the civilizations that thrived there. Yet, for every answer uncovered, new questions arise. Who were the leaders who directed the construction of these cities? How did their societies maintain order and stability? And why did so many of these achievements vanish from collective memory? The Upano Valley reminds us that history is never complete. Beneath the soil and trees, entire chapters of the human story remain unwritten. The jungle still holds its secrets. LiDAR may reveal them, but the mysteries will continue to challenge us. One city has been found. Countless others may still sleep beneath the green expanse. Until next time, stay curious